Hello, and thank you for joining me to find out a little bit more about the Rural Business Development Grant Scheme. This scheme is funded by the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs, part of their Tackling Rural Poverty and Social Isolation programme. The programme is delivered and managed by local councils right across Northern Ireland. I'm based in Antrim and Newtownabbey Borough Council, and the presentation is reflective of that. However, the same scheme runs right across Northern Ireland, and contact details of local councils is available at the end of the presentation. The presentation is going to take you through who can benefit from the funding scheme, what funding is available, how do I apply, how are applications assessed, how are grants paid, and the contact details of all the local councils. Firstly, this scheme is really to look at business survival and recovery, business sustainability, business development and growth. We ran a very successful pilot scheme last year, and since then business trading conditions have changed substantially. So we're really keen to support businesses in whatever they need to get them back up on their feet, or for those that are ready to develop and grow. The scheme is for rural micro enterprises across all of Northern Ireland. So what does rural mean? Your business must be based in an area with less than 5,000 residents. It is through the DAERA's Rural Development Scheme, and therefore it's restricted to rural businesses. So in the Antrim and Newtownabbey area, rural for us includes villages and hamlets such as Ballyeaston, Ballynure, Ballyrobert, Burnside, Doak, Parkgate, Strayed, Templepatrick, Toome and all of our outlying rural areas. It does exclude the large towns of Antrim and the smaller towns of Crumlin, Randalstown and Ballyclare, as well as the Newtownabbey urban area including Molluscan and Gormley. Unfortunately, this scheme does not cover businesses that are based in an urban area. Joining us from another local council, you should contact your own local council to find out specifically if your business is based in a rural area. So for rural businesses, you must also be an existing business that has already started trading, but you can be a private business or a social enterprise. As a social enterprise, you can only apply for funding for the commercial operated element of your business. You must not be a farmer seeking support to develop or sustain an agricultural business. Agricultural businesses are supported by another section of DAERA and therefore can't come forward for this scheme. Your business must be classified as a micro business, and by that we mean you must have less than 10 full-time employees at the time of application. You can demonstrate your business eligibility and demonstrating that you're an existing business by providing a self-assessment number or limited company details, your sales turnover details, and by providing a copy of a recent bank statement from an account that's used by the business. All of that information is asked for in your application form. So what can we fund? This is a capital scheme, so we can fund equipment, machinery, new computers, software, e-commerce websites. We can also fund health and safety changes that you may need to make to your premises. So for example, hand sanitisation areas, elbow operated taps, screens, or other alterations to allow you to provide social distance for your staff or for your customers. We can also look at building works, and that might be adding on an extension to the back of premises, creating an outdoor seating area, internal modifications to your premises, or bringing in a redundant part of your building back into economic use. For building works, you must own or have a 5-year lease on the commercial property, and we can provide no funding for residential properties. So even if you're operating a business from a garage or part of your residential property, there can be no funding for building works. So what else we can't fund? As I said, it's a capital scheme, and therefore we can't fund any business running costs. So your heat, light, electric, any of your staff wages, insurance or stock that you use to run your business can't be funded. We also can't fund any resource items, so any marketing or advertising or information websites. So just to make the distinction, if you have a website where you're creating a new website with online selling capabilities, that would be eligible, as we would class that as an e-commerce website. However, if it's just a static website providing information on your products but you can't actually trade from it, then that would be considered resource and wouldn't be eligible. We can't fund general refurbishment or building maintenance in your business. So whilst there are building works that are eligible, if you're simply refurbishing an existing premise, so for example, putting on some paint just to make the place look nicer, then that wouldn't be eligible. It would need to be that you're bringing a redundant part of the building back into use so that there's an economic return, or you were changing or modifying the premises to make it suitable post-COVID-19 and to meet some health and safety requirements. General refurbishment, general building maintenance would not be eligible. We can't provide funding for any type of motorised vehicles, so that's vans, cars, boats, forklifts, basically anything that's got a motor that can self-propel itself. So any vehicle, unfortunately, we can't provide funding for. We also can't provide funding for second-hand equipment or refurbished equipment, so it must be new equipment or machinery. And you can't have already purchased the item before you receive a letter of offer. Back to the good news and how much funding is available. Our maximum grant is up to £4,999 at a maximum 50% grant rate. So for example, if you're purchasing equipment that's valued at £6,000, you'll be able to apply for a maximum of £3,000. We do have a minimum grant of £500, which means you must be spending at least £1,000 to come forward for the scheme, and there's a maximum threshold of £20,000 of your equipment. So if you've got a large scheme and a piece of equipment worth £30,000, unfortunately you're not eligible for this scheme. So how can you apply? The application form for this scheme will be released on the 3rd of August 2020 and will be available via the link on our antrimandnewtownabbey.gov.uk website. It will also be available on all other local councils' websites. To apply, you'll submit your application form and supporting documentations, including a recent bank statement that's from the account used by the business, 2 written quotes or price checks for your items. Your quotes must be like for like and have a specification. Quotes from any family or extended family must be declared in advance. For building works, we will also require a copy of your relevant approvals. If you're doing building works planning permission that requires planning permission, this must be in place at the time of application. Projects involved in building works will also need to show ownership or a 5-year lease in place as part of the application. The application form itself will cover 9 main sections. The first section is looking at your applicant's details. Section 2 will look at your business overview to give us an idea of what sector the business is in and your current trading arrangements. Section 3 will look at your project details, and in here we'll be looking at what you want to achieve by applying for this programme, what you're adding on to your business, what's the need for the project and what impact the project is going to have. In section 4 we'll ask you to outline your project costs and the grant aid that you're seeking to apply for. In section 5 we look at your project timescales. In section 6 we're asking for some details on your building works if that's applicable. In section 7 we'll invite you to register onto your economic development database, and if you're not already registered on that, by registering on your local council economic development database, you'll be notified of funding or support opportunities that are relevant to you in your area. In section 8 you will be signing off on your application form and providing some details on previous support, which is called de minimis aid. And in section 9 you will be completing details of the procurement that you've carried out. We do have quite comprehensive guidance notes available, so I'd encourage you as you're completing your application form to review the guidance notes so that you're answering the questions relevant to what's in there. Just a few tips for you. Complete all sections of your application form. If you don't complete all sections, your application form will be deemed ineligible and it will not be possible to assess your project. Your application is what we use to assess your project. You must not assume that we know your business if you've applied for funding before or if you've sought support from council before. Treat your application as this is what will be assessed for grant aid. Provide as much detail as relevant to the question in front of you within the word limit that's provided. I would encourage you to quantify any targets that you're putting down. So if you're thinking about bringing staff back into employment or creating additional jobs, give us some detail of that. Are you bringing back 3 staff? Are you able to create 1 full-time job, or is it 1 job that's going to be an extra 5 hours per week? It's really useful when we're assessing applications if you can quantify what you're wanting to do. Also provide any source for market research, including your customer feedback and trends. So if you're making changes to your business premises or you're adding a new piece of equipment to allow you to diversify, tell us why you're doing that. Is that from customer orders that you haven't been able to fulfill? Is it from ensuring that you can meet your social distancing requirements? Whatever the reason is behind it, put that down on paper because it's really useful as we're assessing your project. Once your application is ready, you will submit that before our closing date of 12 noon on Friday the 11th of September to your local council. You should submit your application and all supporting documentation by email, and the address to send that to is in the back of the guidance notes. The process is going to be electronic throughout, and it's really important that you use the same email address throughout the process. So the email address that you use to submit your application will be the email address that the council uses to notify you of the outcome of your application, and you also must use the same email address to submit any claims. If you have any problems with using electronic means for submission of documentation, please contact your local council. So moving on to how your application will be assessed. We'll carry out an initial eligibility check on your application and your documentation. We'll be checking that you are a rural-based business, that you're employing less than 10 people, and the items you've applied for are eligible, and you've submitted all the documentation that we've requested. Your application then will be assessed against set criteria using the information that you've provided in your application form, and that's why it's really important that that's as comprehensive as possible. I'll go through the criteria on the next slide, and there's also details available in the guidance notes. Applications scoring over 65% will be recommended for funding, and the recommendations will be considered and approved by council. The funding available is limited, so if the scheme is oversubscribed, projects will be ranked according to score, and the highest scoring projects will be offered funding first. We therefore cannot guarantee that every project scoring over 65% will receive funding. If you're successful, an electronic letter of offer will be issued by council, and we anticipate that to be in November. Successful applicants must attend a letter of offer workshop, and we'll provide more details of that, including the date, time and format closer to the time. Please remember that it will only be once you've received and accepted your letter of offer that you'll be able to go ahead and purchase any of the items. If you're not successful, we'll also notify you of this and provide some feedback if required. There are 4 areas where we'll be assessing your project. Each of the 4 areas will be given a score between 0 and 5, and then that score will be multiplied by the weight to give you a maximum score. The first criteria is your project need, where we will be assessing what need you have demonstrated for your project, what evidence of that need has been provided. Your second element of scoring is the economic impact. What impact will this project have on your business and on the local area? and that's where we'll want to see some details of your ability to sustain existing jobs. Is there any potential for job creation in the short, medium or long term? What impact will the project have on your sales turnover? Where will your sales come from? Is there any opportunity to export your product or service and generate sales from outside of the local area? Our next criteria is looking at your project experience and management strength, where we'll be looking at your ability, skills and experience of the business or the project team to deliver on this project and support the recovery, sustainability or growth of your business. Our final assessment criteria is about innovation, and this is looking at innovation both in the marketplace or in your own business practices. There is a section of this in your application form, and think about what you're doing that's maybe a little bit different from what's already available in the marketplace, or how you're doing something different in your own business. Are you introducing online sales for the first time, for example? Are you doing a new product that you've never done before? Are you providing a different service that's never been done? Include that in your application form of how you as a business is growing, adapting, developing, either internally or within the marketplace. As I say, that will give you a score out of 100, and you must reach the minimum of 65% to be eligible to receive funding. For successful projects, how will grants be paid? All of our funding is retrospective, so you will purchase and pay for all items that you've been offered funding for in full, and then claim the 50% funding back or whatever have been offered in your letter of offer. You must pay all your invoices and the items cleared through your bank account by the 26th of February 2021. You should be using the same bank account that you've submitted as part of your application form. Cash and hire purchase payments will not be accepted. You should submit your claim to your local council by the 26th of March 2021, and we will ask for your invoices, receipts and bank statements. Your claim will be submitted electronically, and please remember you will have to submit this from the same email address that you submitted your application form. Your local council officer will verify the claim, and payments will be made directly by DAERA through BACS. So that's been a quick overview of the application, assessment and claims process for the Rural Business Development Grant Scheme. I just want to remind you that our closing date is Friday the 11th of September at 12 noon. We cannot accept applications after this date and time. Please remember to send your application form and all supporting documentation as laid out in the guidance notes to your local council by the closing date. In the Antrim and Newtownabbey area, this should be submitted to grow@antrimandnewtownabbey.gov.uk. And in Antrim and Newtownabbey, if you have any queries throughout the process, you can email us or text Business Rural to 80039. If you've joined us from another council area, please contact the council area for which you're based. The phone numbers that I've provided here is right through to their economic or rural development teams, and somebody in your own local council will be able to give you advice or support in your own local area. Finally, can I take this opportunity to wish you all the very best in your application. We really do look forward to being able to provide funding to support your business as it recovers, sustains or grows. And if you have any questions, do give your local council a contact in advance of the application.